In the commercial catalog world, it's very common that you'll have one shot and have to produce 3 or 4 different colored versions of that. In this shot, we'll imagine it's for nail polish. So we have the original in this reddish orange or orangish red. Before I even begin correcting to different colors, it seems that the models never have a perfect manicure. So we'll start with the stamp tool. I hit the letter S for stamp. I'll use my left bracket on my keyboard to make the brush a little smaller, and I'll hold down Alt or Option and click once to say I'm cloning from here. Alt click or Option click, let go of both, move up a bit, and just fix that manicure. Being very careful to let go periodically so that you have undos. Cuticles out of place? That's fixable. I Alt-clicked, and then I just smoothly drag. And you could do that in a few spots, but I just wanted to show you how to begin. Here, I've got a little bit of discoloration along the edges. Might be just a highlight that the camera picked up. Alt-click or Option-click, click and drag. Alt-click or Option-click, click and drag. So a good cloner, someone who uses the stamp tool often, will do a lot of Alt-clicking or Option-clicking until the image looks nearly perfect. That's all we'll do to start. So now I'm going to choose Select Color Range. And when I choose Select Color Range, I'll click on the nails and you'll see a preview of what was selected. I can slide up fuzziness to grab more or less, but I can also click the eyedropper with the plus sign, and you'll notice some of the highlights were missed here. So I'll click once to include a little bit more of the highlights. That's getting very close. I'll slide fuzziness up a bit more, and there is a little bit in the tutu in the background that's being picked up, but I'll simply click OK. And actually, that was just a nail in the tutu. If I missed any areas, I can use my quick selection tool and simply paint them in. In fact, I rarely finish this technique without zooming in a lot, Command plus or Control plus, and quick selection is a great way to clean up. You could have started there painting each one individually. I could have been a little bit more careful with Select Color Range. And a note, as I'm painting here, I'm using my right bracket key on my keyboard to make the brush bigger, or left bracket key next to the letter P on your keyboard to make the brush smaller. If I go too far, that's okay. I can use Alt or Option to take away. This tool often does a better job at cleanup than it does at the initial selection. But I love quick selection. I live on it. Okay, I think I'm close enough. And I rarely do a retouching without using Refine Edge. So when I hit Refine Edge, you can see just the nails isolated. With objects, things like nails or cars or products, you can use a lot of smoothing and fairly sharp contrast. If you're doing color changes, you might want to add a subtle amount of feathering so that it blends the edge and blurs from the old color to the new color that you're making. And I can check Show Original and turn that off and on to see a before and after. I'll click OK on that, and I'm going to start by choosing Layer, New Fill Layer, and Solid Color. And the way this works in the catalog world is they'll get swatches of the actual color, or in the case of nail polish, they'll be sent the nail polish and do as best they can in the print world. Often the colors for nail polish do not exist in the CMYK print world, so they have to use Pantone or spot colors, branded inks or mixed inks that are matched to that exact shade on press. For example, a metallic gold or metallic silver doesn't exist in CMYK, but you can add a 5th or 6th color to achieve a tone that you could really only get in nail polish. So we will call this blue. That's the first color we're going to change this to. I'll click OK, and now I will go to the blue, and don't be afraid by how fake it looks. We are going to correct this. In fact, you'll notice it's making a layer mask. So even though my selections weren't perfect, I can fix them on the mask. I'll click OK. And now here's a little bit of the magic. Instead of a normal, solid blue color, as if I just took the regular paintbrush tool and painted over the nails, I can use Multiply. Multiply is a blending mode which burns that color in, almost for a witch's blue, a very popular shade right now. Just dark, nearly black shade of blue. And that depends on the tone you're going for. I may actually have to lighten the nails underneath to reach a lighter shade of blue. And I could do other things, like lighten the opacity so it's not quite as solid, but then you're getting the original tone through a bit more. So there's quite a few blending modes that may help you with this. Color dodge means to lighten. If I want that glowing pink, color burn will darken with the color. I could also try hard light. Ooh, and that's a little bit closer. Or soft light. But I think hard light is going to be my winner on this one. A few others, lighten, just experiment with these layer blending modes, and they have amazing power. So that hard light really gets me a realistic look and the shade of blue that I'm aiming for. To finish this off, I'll click on the mask and zoom into the nails. And once I zoom in on the regular paintbrush tool, I can make a very small brush by adjusting my brush size down or using my left bracket. And black always blocks. So even without remembering that, just test it. Black is blocking the new layer that I've built. So I will swap my colors to white and now repair that area. And a little trick when working with masks or doing repair, I can hold down Shift, click, Shift again. Or I can freely paint. But that starts to get sloppy. So I'll undo Control-Alt-Z or Command-Option-Z a few times. And what I want to do is make sure that I have a soft brush that blends. Now with a softer edge brush, I'll see a little bit of tapering or anti-aliasing of the color. And then I can make my brush bigger, and with a bigger brush it blends more. So if I do the click, shift click trick, it gets a little bit smoother. And then I'll come down here and click and drag to paint. And you would do that on every nail. I'm not going to take the time to do every one, but I will fit in window and zoom into these two which weren't perfect. My favorite power user way to zoom is to hold down Control and Spacebar together or Command and Spacebar together and click and drag. And then once I get in close enough, now I can paint. And that's the beauty of a mask. Once I get to this point, I can click once, shift click, and Photoshop connects the dots. Come here, click once, shift click, just lining up the edges of this circle to paint in until I'm happy with the result. Make sure you let go periodically so that you have undos. And I stopped there, click, shift click, click, shift click. It's great for these straight edge objects just to connect the dots. And maybe a little smaller brush here with the left bracket key, and I could paint in this portion of the nail. Now once you get the perfect layer mask, you can do any new fill layer color that you'd like. This is a blue, but if I fit in window and double click on the blue, I could change it to maybe a deeper red. And there you have the ability to match many different tones and shades. So I'll click the eye icon to turn that on and off and see a before and after. And your homework is to finish each of these so that they look good. Just remember, if you're painting, more color in to be on the mask. In fact, this little chip is something I could have repaired before I made my selection, and you still have the background layer to be able to make edits there. But using masks makes your evidence that you've done work on it almost indistinguishable. The more practice you get with altering your brush size and zooming in and painting at the pixel level, the better these types of corrections will look. So I'm almost finished with that area. If I go outside the lines, which I'll do, no worries, hit X to swap your foreground and background and paint that away. Letting go periodically so that you have undos. X again to swap back. Make my brush size a little smaller. In making my brush smaller, I accidentally hit the letter P because that's where the brackets are. I'll just size my brush down and continue to paint. All right, there's a very good correction, and most people would never be able to recognize that this shot was taken in this original nail color and you've changed it to something else. Give this a try on your own.